What is up, jabronis? JJ back here with Snyder. And look at who we have here. Special guest. Some call him a star. Big T. Big T, you got some ships for today, correct? What are you thinking? You got a lot of confidence coming in? You gonna maybe land one of them?
Yeah, I feel good today. I wasn't going to hop on with the boys, but I just couldn't resist. I like coming on too much because there's not that much content out college football-wise. Probably doesn't matter. I'm always one that's an open book, so I don't like to necessarily come on when there's not much info, and I'm going to always tell my plays I love. So today's one of the few days where I was tempted not to come on, but I'll still come on and talk football with the boys. I can't resist.
Love it. And Snyder, thanks as well for coming on. I think the last few weeks have been good, but we've been able to talk through some DFS options. I hope it's made not only you guys money on this show, but even of course the folks watching. And then we'll be able to go through each game. I guess we'll just talk on the 8 games on the slate. I'll give some betting options. Could also talk DFS. It's probably the easiest way to go about it, right? What do you guys think that makes sense?
Yeah. Game by game. Is that what you said? Game by game?
Yeah, there's 8 total games.
Perfect.
Okay, so Baylor, Oklahoma State. Full transparency, absolutely no bet from me here. We still haven't gotten news on Bohannon, right? Have we? Baylor's quarterback. Big drop off if he's unable to go. I think his mobility's been one of the main reasons why Baylor's been had the year that they've had. I mean, don't get me wrong, they've been above average defensively, but Bohannon's had a tremendous year, and I know this kid's backed him up for the last few games, but it hasn't felt the same. So what's your thought? So I'll tell you this. So Oklahoma State did this weird thing last week against Oklahoma where they completely changed up their tempo. I'm not sure if you guys watched the game, but all of a sudden Oklahoma State decided to be this fast-paced team for 1 week against Oklahoma, almost like they thought, on a play-per-play basis, they could outscore Oklahoma. I'd expect them to go back to what they normally do, which is play pretty slow and play good defense. As far as this game goes, I think the spread's accurate. I think Oklahoma State's better than this team, a lot better than this team. And if Bohannon's out, I really worry how Baylor's going to even move the ball with any efficiency. So, I'm off this game entirely because I got this right. 45.5 is a low total, especially for a Big 12 game. But these two teams play really good defense. And Spencer Sanders has been good, but when forced to throw, he hasn't been as good. What I did like from him last week was he was using his legs a ton. You likely see some flavor of that again today. But as far as DFS goes, I personally don't have all that much I like in this game. Let me see who I have. So I'll have some Sanders exposure. I'll have some Abram Smith exposure. And on the OK State side, I'll have some Warren and some Blaine Green. Blaine Green's like a cheap little punt at wide receiver. But outside of that, not much here for me betting-wise or DFS-wise. What do you think, Snyder?
I don't really have much interest in this game. I mean, you got Baylor here with an implied team total of under 20 points, so I don't like much there. If I was going to play someone as a one-off on that team, it would probably be Tristan Ebner. He's got double-digit carries in the last 4 or 5 games. You've seen work in the pass game as well. Now he's averaging 5 targets on the year, 4 targets, 7 targets, and 4 targets in his last 3 games. But I don't see myself clicking on many guys from Baylor. From the Oklahoma State side, Jaylen Warren's price is lower here, but I just he just hasn't been doing much for me the last few games, so I won't be going there. Tate Martin is a stud, though. I like him as a receiver from Oklahoma State. 7.3K seems like a really good price tag for his ceiling here. I don't expect many points total in this game, but I think Tate Martin could catch some balls and hit that 100-yard bonus. I don't have his prop. They didn't have a prop for him up when I looked, but he's been seeing over 10 targets every game. I mean, I think he could smash in this spot as well. I could see him catching, 7 balls for like 130 yards and a touchdown. And I'm not sure if that'll get you there this week because we have such other good spots, but I wouldn't mind that Tate Martin call.
Cool. And Tony, anything you like in this game? Anything that sticks out to you?
No. I mean, I agree with what you guys are saying. These teams, I don't see much scoring. So what's the total? 45.5. The 7 feels pretty fair to me. The 45 feels pretty fair to me, honestly. If I was doing anything, it would be under. I don't like Baylor. Every time I've got on these guys, they just don't do it for me. Okie State, Yeah, I could see playing a guy like Tay Martin, but man, 7,300 on this slate when we got a couple 70 totals and some other spots that receivers are so good in this slate. You are going to get guys. The interesting thing about this slate is you're going to get other people that are really talented, like Tay Martin, low owned just because of the way the slate sets up with two super high totals with really good plays in it. So you're going to be able to scoop some guys like Tay Martin way lower owned than you should be able to. But I'm just one of those people that don't really go down that path outside of fillers. Like in my 150, if somehow I land on Tay Martin, I have no issue with it whatsoever, but not going to force him in by any means. Yeah, the only guy in my player pool that will get any exposure is Jaylen Warren. I mean, 7-point favorite. Low total, but he has shown volume throughout the year. He's not going to be like in my core or anything, but at 6,600, I'll have some of him for sure, but not much in this game for sure. Bets wise too, I don't like anything here. If I did, it would be the under though.
Yeah, I think, and the others come down a bit as well. I get it. This game likely plays out ugly.
Where's this game at?
We've seen is it in somewhere in Texas? Do they always have the same? The Big 12 Championship is kind of new.
I think
it's
in
Jerry's
Texas
World?
Stadium. Yeah,
I think
that's where
they
I would
still have
guess.
it at the same stadium every year. So yeah, it could be there. So I guess we'll just move on to the next game. Let me see here. Hold on 1 second. Okay. Kent State and Northern Illinois. So I'll say this, that I've done really well betting the MAC this year, and I want to bet this game. However, I need to know the Rocky Lombardi news. It's pretty pivotal towards this spread. The way this spread's moved, you would think there's a decent chance he doesn't play, because I don't necessarily understand how Kent would be a 3.5 neutral favorite against NIU here. But with that said, there's reports that make it seem like Lombardi will play, along with I think they have another guy coming back as well. Either way, if Lombardi plays, I actually really like NIU over their team total, which is going to be about like 35.5, 34.5, something like that, because Kent State speeds up everybody they play, and they're just not a great defense. I know that they've been fortunate on some angles as well, and they've had a great season. But Lombardi can just shred this team. People forget he was the old Michigan State quarterback who's now throwing for NIU, and as long as he plays, I think that puts, from DFS perspective, I think that puts Rudolph very much in play. He loves himself some Rudolph, and Snyder. We're talking about this before. Cole Tucker makes a lot of sense as well if he's starting, because I think you can literally make a stack where you have Lombardi, Tucker, and Rudolph in the same, and then just run it back with Cooper. Cooper's going to be very popular on the Kent State side at running back. Not Cooper. I'm sorry, Ducker. No, I was right. Cooper, right? Yeah, Tucker's on NIU.
Cooper's running back.
Cooper's probably going to be one of the most popular running backs in the entire slate. A guy that sees a ton of volume, a guy that gets all the goal line work. Sure, he doesn't catch a lot of passes, like really ever, but this offense plays super fast, and he's going to get goal line work. So I think this game is going to be a game that gets stacked by many. But again, to me, the Lombardi news is very critical towards the betting spread and towards the DFS stuff as well, because I think without Lombardi, that removes some receivers from play on the NIU end. Lombardi plays, I think you need to be over. I think you need some overexposure to some of these wide receivers in NIU, because Lombardi absolutely torched his team when he played them earlier in the year. Am I correct? I think he threw for like 500 and something yards the first time they played.
Yeah, 532.
Yeah, so I know he doesn't have much rush upside, but he still does run the ball. Not as much as obviously Dustin Crum does, but he plays. I like this spot to target NIU, especially since the Kent State side is going to get a lot more ownership in DFS. And yeah, once I get news that Lombardi starting, I will definitely be firing on that NIU team total. Tony, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on this game? I know it's going to be a popular one.
Yeah, I mean, it gets interesting if Lombardi doesn't play, because I'm looking at this. I mean, I don't even know who the backup is. Doesn't look like anyone on the roster's really got any sort of snaps.
Ethan Hampton was 4 for 10 last week as their starter for the entire.
Yeah, I mean, besides that though, like that was the only time he played, right? I was scouring the game log here, that's his only, and he got -1 fantasy point in those 10 passing attempts. So, like, if Rocky Lombardi somehow sits, this is going to be. I mean, in a tournament like that final, this game is going to be insanely owned. And when you can get in all tournaments, actually, because you want to get to the top in tournaments is the plan. I think it turns into a decent fade type spot if Lombardi sits, because I could see this game playing a lot more runs, a lot more clock going. I don't know. It's big news, obviously. We got to wait and see if he's in there. I mean, it's a 75 total or whatever. 75 total. Tons of plays in this game. Everyone's good. But, man, if they lose their quarterback and they don't have a quarterback, I think it turns into a decent fade, even though there's all of these guys. And by fade, I mean you can still play a guy like Cooper. You can play pieces, but you can't just fully stack it maybe. Where right now, I mean, in this 75-man final, there's going to be so much ownership in this game where if it can somehow bust, or even by bust, it doesn't even have to be anything crazy. It could be 24-17 or something. That's a bust in a game total this high with this much ownership. So, yeah, we got to wait on the news, but I lean under a little bit right now. I mean, 70, Dunkel's the Mac guy. 75 just feels high to me in this game. The teams don't mind running. I know they're explosive. I know the last time, believe me, I played the slate the last time they played. It was 53-48 or something. They went nuts. Everyone knows that. It's a high total. I think we can use that against people a little bit, though. I don't like this game quite as much. If Lombardi's in, obviously it's good. In my 150 in the normal tournament, I'll definitely have plenty of this game. But for whatever reason, I kind of feel a little lower about this game than the field will.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. If Lombardi doesn't play, I think you need to play is it Ducker? Yeah, I think you need to play him if Lombardi's out. I think that they're just going to force feed him touches. If Lombardi plays, that does muddy it a bit because they throw a ton with him. Snyder, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, this game is interesting for me. We have seen some of these early games, like they're going to be playing at 11 a.m. here. They are playing in a dome at Ford Field, but I mean, some of these 11 a.m. games have kind of been dudded compared to where they should be point total. But I do
Both
think
these teams always play at night too. Am I wrong, or is it always weeknights for these guys, or no? Do they play some Saturdays?
Yeah, they start the year always on Saturdays, and then usually they alternate one game a week is on Saturdays. Kent State's definitely familiar with Saturdays. I don't know the last time NIU played a Saturday game though, because I think last week. I don't know if last week was Saturday. If it was, great. But yeah, the short answer is yes, they do play on Saturdays, just more during the weeknights.
Yeah, if Lombardi does miss, I don't mind going to a couple of these NIU running backs. You got Ducker here. He's got a prop of 92.5 yards. Good price tag on him at only 5.6K. And then you got Clint Rakovic. I like him as a value running back this week.
I think this dude is like literally the worst play on the slate, Snyder.
He scored 6 touchdowns.
Yeah, he literally scores all the touchdowns. Like, look at his carries. Like, dude scores. His touchdown equity is insane.
Yeah, it's definitely up there. I mean, he has
4 carries, 1 touchdown, 11 for 2, 4 for 1, 6 for 2, 6 for 1. And he's still only getting you like 15 fantasy points with all those touchdowns. Like,
and he's
going to be popular too because people want exposure to this spot. Like, oh man, I think he's a bad play.
I think it's there's pros and cons. I think there's some leverage options there with him. But I will say this, Snyder, the last game, I think it was last game or the game before, like all his yards came on one carry. Like it was like he scored it
was a 96-yard touchdown and he had 15 fantasy points.
Yeah, I mean
like. And people are going to play him because they see the average, they see his projection because it's all touchdowns. Like,
it's a good spot to leverage that. Then
he's literally terrible. Like if you watch him,
just pay that extra $1,000 and go up to Ducker with that nice team prop. He's got that
Ducker,
rushing prop.
Seriously though, like little Snyder, we just talked about all those touchdowns. Look at Ducker. The poor fella gets like no touchdowns.
And they just pull him.
He does all the work and gets no love.
But for the receivers on Northern Illinois, if Lombardi does play, I do like Cole Tucker. He's 5K. I think he's a good value play. He's been seeing around 7 targets on average this year. I think he can pay off that price tag really well. You got Rudolph there, as JSU talked about. He's seeing about 25% of the market share this year, seeing around 7 targets a game. He's seen 21 targets in that game against Kent State that first time, so that's interesting. For that Kent State side, I mean, Cooper is definitely going to be the.
We got news, not to interrupt you, but it looks like Bohannon is going to not be in. Shapin's going to start. It looks like.
Interesting. He's 6.1K. He's basically the same price there.
Yeah. Doesn't do anything probably DFS wise, but betting wise, it definitely leans me a little the other way.
I can't bet Baylor now. Like they could win, but I would have felt better with Bohannon.
Yeah, the Marquez Cooper, he's got a rushing prop of 105 yards. I think he's a great spot here. He's seen the bulk of the rushing yards besides Dustin Crum. I mean, Dustin Crum's going to be overall the most highest owned guy on the slate, I think. 8.3K is just too good of a price tag for him. He's doing way too much for this offense. Cephas, Abram, some other receivers I'd look to pair him with. Nakeem Johnson maybe is a value guy. He's at 4.1K. He saw 4 targets last game. He's seeing right around 42 yards a game receiving this year. Cephas is the top guy, though. He's seeing 85 yards a game, and he's got a prop of 89.5 yards this game. So that's where I would be looking to attack this game.
Cool. I think we're good to move on. So this game, San Diego State, Utah State, this is actually a best bet for me. So San Diego State over their team total. It is 27.5. And I know that they're starting their backup quarterback, or they've been the last few days, but I think he's better. Like I've watched him play. I think he's better than who they've had playing, which is I can't remember guys. I think it was Johnson. Is his last name.
Lucas Johnson, I think.
So Brookshire's been much better. He's much more of a dual threat. I think he's just made this offense look better now. Utah State, much like Kent does, they speed teams up. One of the fastest paced teams in the country. And look, credit to Blake Anderson, I think, is the coach who ran Arkansas State for the last few years. Gets a better gig here at Utah State. And I think he's done a great job with this program offensively. They've even looked at times decent defensively. My issue with this team is they can't tackle at all. San Diego State's going to run the ball a ton, and they're going to put a lot of pressure on these tacklers on these defenders to make tackles. And I've watched this Utah State team a lot this year, and they are such a letdown defensively, especially in open space. San Diego State doesn't blow you away with anything offensively. Like even Greg Bell, their running back, in my opinion, has taken a step backwards this year from last. But still, this team is still efficient on a per play basis, and defensively, they should really give Utah State problems. And if there's something bad you could say about this Utah State offense, it's been their turnovers and their inability to truly consistently close red zone possessions. And Logan Bonner's been good, but again, this is more system based, and their receiver's been good too. The main guy Tompkins, he could have a decent day today, but tough to tell. They probably have to go down a few scores and be forced to throw. Because believe it or not, Utah State actually runs the ball out. They just do it with a lot of different people. But overall, I think San Diego State does enough not only to win this game, but they get a lot of points on the board because Utah State is going to give away some points here, whether it's on their offense, whether it's on field position, whether it's on turnovers, whatever you want to call it. San Diego State should be able to grind this team down, especially as the game goes on. So we're like their team total over 27.5. As far as DFS goes, I think Brookshire is sneaky good for DFS today. 5,900. The dude's like every game he started, he basically gets you 20 points. Again, he's got rushing upside to get near the red zone. He's very content to take it in himself. I like the spot for him here, especially since he's going to be starting. And then I think if you grab him, I think you pair him with Matthews, who's their big play upside guy at wide receiver. Again, for me, it's more of a low leverage or a high leverage stack that's just not going to get a lot of ownership. Like people aren't going to play Jesse Matthews today. I mean, and even if they do, he's not going to be as high owned as some of these other guys and some of these other stacks. I just think it's a good pivot spot. I think they're cheap. And on the Utah State side, I will be playing absolutely no one. Not to say these guys can't get there. I think you can do a run back with Tompkins if you want. But outside of that, I'm going to have very low ownership to Utah State. Again, a team like Utah State that plays super fast and gets to play a snail like San Diego State, it's going to be tough, muddy waters for them all game long. And it's not like they've adjusted these Utah State prices. So off on the Utah State side, definitely going to have exposure to San Diego side. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm with you on that San Diego State side. I think Brookshire can hit 3 to 4x pretty easy in this spot. This Utah State team is averaging 172 yards given up on the ground every game this year. So I think his rushing upside as well, it proves a good upside for him at that price tag of under 6K. I do think he's going to be pretty low on this slate as well. Greg Bell, it looks like he's going to be pretty popular at 5.2K, but we just haven't seen any sort of ceiling from him in the last 6 to 7 weeks. I mean, he's probably going to get you in that 10 to 15 point range, but I have a hard time seeing that get. I mean, you get done for us. I realized I did mention that one guy last game a little cheaper, but man, I just don't see much upside for Bell here. For the receivers, Jesse Matthews had 12 targets in that last game with Brookshire, so I definitely think that's the guy you could pair up with him. That's the guy I would be looking to pair him up with, but I don't really have much of exposure in this Utah State side either. I mean, we have seen the upside of Tompkins throughout this year. He's definitely got that 40 burger in his bag, but I don't think I'm going to go there this game as well. But mainly just those two guys from San Diego State for me, and pretty much a stay away spot outside of the quarterback.
Yeah, what do you think, Tony?
Yeah, I like so I already did my player pool and everything. I didn't have that much from this game in there, but I like this Jesse Matthews call from Dunkel. So they changed quarterbacks. The dude can actually throw the ball a little bit. In the last 2 games with him, 9 catches both games for Jesse Matthews, 75, $133, 3 and 1 touchdown. So 30-plus fantasy points the last 2 games. Really the only 2 sample with this quarterback. I know he played a little bit early in the year, but something might have clicked a little bit these last 2 weeks. And they didn't score that many points either. I mean, 28 and 27, so nothing insane. And he still goes off both games. Quarterback consistent and cheap. I think it's a nice little mini stack where you go Brookshire and Matthews and run it back with Tompkins. If I played Brookshire and Matthews, I'd have to play Tompkins, I think, just the way I build teams. But I like that. I wasn't going to do it. I didn't have it really in my player pool, but I'm going to add it back in there, at least some teams, because, I mean, no one's going to play Matthews, and he just looks, maybe they got some sort of connection from who knows what, running extra routes after practice, who knows what, change quarterbacks and dude goes off, super low owned. I like that. I like that call from Dunkel. So I'll get in there with that. As far as betting, again, I don't have a strong take on these teams.
Okay. Yes, we can move on to the next game. Hold on 1 second. Here's sitting here making lineups like a donkey, and I can't save. Okay. All right, next game up. Is it Bama? No.
App State.
Sorry, guys, my computer's lagging. Okay, so App State and Louisiana Lafayette. So, full disclosure here, no bet from me. First of all, I think Louisiana Lafayette's a better team, and I get it why App State's favored here. Louisiana Lafayette absolutely stomped this team a few weeks back, or a bunch of weeks back, whatever it was. But there is, of course, the narrative here with Louisiana Lafayette's coach moving on to Florida, I believe. And App State's got their little revenge narrative here, right? I mean, they did get themselves stomped the first time. I'm sure App State, first of all, doesn't lose a lot of games the way they did lose to Louisiana last time out. So you'd figure you get a better version of them. I will say this for folks making multiple lineups. I actually really like the App State stack-wise pass options. Chase Bryce at 6,600, the old Clemson quarterback. That is a very fair price in this matchup. And then when you think about how you can basically pair him with his receivers, more or less that get all the work, which is Sutton and Hennigan at cheap price. So I would do it without a run back, though. I don't know who you would even run it back with on the Lafayette side, but I do think from a cheap stack perspective, you can go Bryce with Hennigan and Sutton together. Again, just giving you options to be a little different. Because if some people are going to go with some flavor of Baylor, Oklahoma State, some people are going to go some flavor of Bama, Georgia. Maybe some people will go this direction, App State, but I don't think as much as people think they might. I think it's going to be a relatively low-owned game, a game that gets skipped by many. But there are options here. Like I think Hennigan's super cheap at 56. I think Sutton's cheap at 49, and I even think Bryce is cheap at his tag as well, especially if Louisiana Lafayette's able to run the football with effectiveness and forces them to throw more. So overall, and the backfield's been so muddy for App State this year. I mean, Peoples was their dominant back last year, and now he barely plays, and they just kind of split it with him and Nate Noel. Apparently that kid Cass is going to be back in the mix today as well. So avoid spot for me on their side, but I do like the App State stack for a cheapy option. Betting wise, I have nothing here. Tony, what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I like the running backs in this game. I know people get worried about all the combos and stuff, but I still think when it comes down to it, Peoples and Noel are going to get big work, and the price tags is what does it for me. We got all these big passing games today, and I want to fit a lot of those big weapons in. We can play Peoples for 4K. Like he's nearly a lock for me. And I don't think he's going to be that popular either because people are worried about all these guys in the backfield. And the last 2 weeks, he got 2 points and 4 points. So I think people are worried. And the first time these two teams played, he didn't play. Last year in the bowl game, he went off. Early in the year, he went off a bunch. I mean, 25, 20, 26. I mean, tons of huge games. Really, the only 2 bad games he had were the last 2 weeks, which is slightly concerning. But again, he's 4K. We got a running back's not great today. I really, really like Peoples. I think he could have a big game today. And I like that he didn't play the first time against them. He missed, it looks like, 3 weeks. He must have been injured. I have no idea where he was, but missed 3 weeks in the middle there. So I like him, and I like Noel too at 4,700. You can play both running backs, 8,700. I know a few of these other guys have got work too. Who are they? Harrington, Castle maybe have got a little work, but I just think when push comes to shove, I think Noel and Peoples will get all the work today. Maybe some other dude gets a series here and there or something, but at these price tags, I'm just going to trust it and go with it. And I don't mind Chris Smith the other way as a sneaky play too. I don't like him as much just because of the price is 5,900. Doesn't stick out as much. But that's where I'm going in this game. I feel really good about it too. Like Peoples might be my favorite play of the slate, point per dollar. I mean, 4K. The dude literally, I don't have the box score up from last. I remember it though, and I played him earlier this year too, where he's treated me good. When I think we did a show, or we might have been with Bruce early in the year, where we talked up this Peoples, and he went off for us for a bunch of points. It might have been maybe the Marshall game or something, 26 points, but. Point being, he's super cheap, and we've at least seen it in the past. We've seen big games in the past, which is important. If he doesn't, he doesn't. 4K for a running back on this slate is not going to kill me. I'm okay taking the risk a little bit, and I just don't think he's going to be owned. So when he has a big game and you get a huge running game from these App State guys, and I think App State wins too, so I really like it. But not a ton in the passing games for me here. I think App State might just smother them on the ground in this spot. So give me App State and these 2 runners.
Like it, Snyder. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like those running backs you talked about. I think the reason they didn't get as much run the last 2 games, Noel and Peoples, is because they were playing Troy and Georgia Southern, and they kind of rolled over those guys pretty easily, and they let Castle and Harrington get some run as well in those 2 games. But I do like that passing game too as well, like JJ had mentioned. I think the guys I would mainly look to target would be like Hennigan and Malik Williams at 4,300. We've seen some upside from him earlier this year. He put up that 40 spot probably about 6 or 7 weeks ago, but we've seen some upside from him, so I don't mind him in some like larger field tournaments. He's seeing 20% of the market share this year, with Sutton seeing actually the highest market share this year at 27%. Don't mind going to any of those. They've all got over 700 yards on the year. I think they're all in play there. I don't really have any consideration on the other side in this game, but I do like that Peoples call more that I look at it. I mean, he saw 23 carries in about 4 weeks ago, so I definitely think he's in a spot to smash here. Nate Noel, he's seeing right around what's he seeing? About 16 rushes a game to Peoples' 15 rushes a game. I like both sides of this game. If I'm building, I'm going to be building different. I'm not going to play the running backs with the quarterbacks, obviously. So it's going to be either or for me in this side.
Cool. So I guess we can move on, right? And I guess the next game is Georgia-Bama. I will say this, DFS-wise, let me just see real quick. So I'll have limited exposure to Cook and White, not in the same lineup. I will have some exposure to Pickens at 3K. I know there's a risk there with his injury, but, this was their bona fide best receiver for the last few years there, who's finally coming back off his injury in their biggest game of the year. Sanders at 6,100 at running back if Robinson does not play. And then you can alternate between Mechie and Williams and how you play them. I don't think you should play both together, and I don't think you should have any flavor of an Alabama stack here. because these players are not priced at the matchup. So Georgia defense to me is as good as the LSU offense was years back. And, they haven't given up more than 17 all year. They played an offense very similar to Bama's in Tennessee and completely stifled that team's offense. This team just got first rounders all over the defense. And it's just a tough spot for Bama. I know Georgia's going to be an absolute chalk spot today. I get it. I just think if the name wasn't on Bama's jersey, if it was some random team and the numbers were the same, I think the spread is up past 10. But because it's Bama, they're not going to push it past 7. And you get the people that are going to back Bama as a dog here. And I don't think Alabama's been an underdog in 3 years, something like that. But either way, as far as DFS goes, I think, like I said, I think you can alternate on some of those options I mentioned. But this will not be a game I have heavy exposure to. This is the best defense both teams will play all season. So there's that as well. And look, I just think they haven't priced this for the matchup like I would have hoped they did. And everybody's overpriced in this spot. So almost a complete fade spot for me. And as far as the game goes, lean Georgia at the 6.5 number. But better lean would be Alabama's under their team total, which I think is 19-ish. But other than that, I will stay away from this game. I won't be betting this game. What I gave you were just kind of some leans, some looks. No bets for me here. Snyder, what are your thoughts on this game DFS-wise?
Yeah, one thing that really jumped out at me as I started to kind of dig into this game a little bit is everybody thinks defense when you get to SEC football, but looking at the last 5 SEC title games, the scoring average in this game has been north of 60 points, which is pretty interesting. You get all these athletes on the fast track here at the Superdome. It's you can see why we get a lot of offense here, but yeah, I don't think this game's going to see much ownership at all. With that Georgia running back, it's hard to pinpoint who's going to get the ball there. I would lean to James Cook if I was going to play either, just because he's seen more work in the pass game and he's got some explosive ability. For the Alabama side, I do think this Alabama stack is going to be very under-owned. You get Bryce Young at the cheapest price tag you've seen all year, but this Georgia defense is unreal. The front 7 mainly is what holds this Georgia defense down, but they have been beat over the top sometimes this game. Auburn had 5 20-plus yard completions versus them. Georgia had a 40-yard completion versus them. Tennessee hit them over the top for a 50-plus yard completion. Missouri, South Carolina had a couple big plays against them. So I think they are beatable over the top if you're going to beat them. I don't mind taking a shot on Jamison Williams. I don't really think we've seen – John Minchie just hasn't been the same as he was last year so far this year. So if I was going to take a Bama receiver here, it'd definitely be Jamison Williams as he returns off that targeting call he got last week in the second quarter. I still haven't seen any definitive news on Brian Robinson. Saban made a comment a couple days ago about he was day to day and he was doing everything he could to get back into there, but I wouldn't target any of these Bama running backs or anything. If anything, it'd just be like a skinny stack of Bryce Young to Jamison Williams for me in this game, but it's interesting. Yeah, you talked about Saban. He has been an underdog 5 times since, I think, 2008, and he's won 4 of those 5 times, and he's won all 4 of those games by double digits, so it's interesting. If I was going to bet on anybody here, if I could get a 7, I would take Bama here, but I think it's going to be a great game, but what do you think about this, Tony? You probably don't like anyone from this game.
No, the funny thing is this is my favorite spot of the day. I am very, very high on Alabama.
Let's go.
First of all, John Mechie, he hasn't been as good as he's gone for 35 plus 3 of the last 5 games. What did he do last year? Did he go for 70? What?
It just doesn't seem like he's been as explosive as he was last year.
I kind of felt the same way until I dug into it more. And then you look at him, though, and the dude, has smashed for the most part. Even the weeks he didn't go off, it's just because he didn't score. 7 for 88 against A&M for 16 fantasy points. That's his down games for the most part in game. I don't know. I look at Georgia's schedule. They didn't play anyone. I think they're very overrated. People aren't going to agree with these takes. It's just my takes. I think they're very overrated. Just look at their schedule. They literally haven't played anybody. They haven't played a SEC power schedule. Who's the best team they've even played? Florida? Auburn? They haven't played anybody.
Yeah.
I think the counter there, Tony, is that Alabama's played a lot of these similar teams, and Alabama
not beat them and struggled
with a lot of them.
Yeah, I get that. for sure. I get it completely. And that's why people aren't going to agree with my take. And I could be wrong. It's just, I feel very good about Alabama moving the ball. And the thing is, we haven't seen Georgia yet in close games where we don't know what they're going to have to do if the game gets ramped up. And how are they going to act? Because every game's been a blowout. They kind of have sat on the ball. What are they going to do if they get down 2 touchdowns to Bama and they got to move it a little bit? So I like, for sure, my Bama side is another reason I like them. It sucks because Dunk will shit on me too right out of the gate saying you can't play Williams and Mechie together because the price, which again, I do get, they're expensive. They're more expensive than guys that are going to have way bigger projections. But I love playing the little 3-man. You get all the volume. Bryce Young, it reminds me a little of the Ohio State spot we got on a few weeks ago where no one's going to be on it. You're going to give me the whole offense, Bryce Young, Williams, Mechie. No one's going to have it with me. So when they actually do score points and they get all the volume, look at the rest of the team, especially if Robinson somehow – I hope he plays. I want him to play. But if he sits, I mean, you are getting all the volume. Love it. And I don't mind the Georgia side. I mean, first of all, Pickens is a near lock for me as long as I know he's not out. I mean, he's 3K.
Definitely not out, Tony. 100% not out.
Yeah, I think he's a lock for me at 3K. And I say that knowing he could easily get us 0 easily, but he's 3K. I'm just going to play him. It just helps on this slate because there's so many high-priced guys that I like. And I'm just going to play him. If he gets me 0, he gets me 0. I'm okay with it. You got Bowers. I like Bowers in this spot. And the running back for me is Cook. He's looked really good to me. When the games have mattered and you need to get something, I feel like it's always Cook that makes that big play. 5,500. No one's going to play. I mean, no one's going to play anyone in this game. So I'm very high on it. I think it goes way over the total. I like this game a ton.
I think it's a good point on the leverage piece where you're just not going to get ownership here, and you can definitely be different. Because you brought up the Ohio State point. I'll tell you this: the Ohio State game, yeah, everybody was overpriced and nobody was playing Ohio State because there was a ton of cheaper options elsewhere. The difference here for me is with the way these guys are priced, you're basically going to need Alabama to drop like a 30 spot on Georgia, which would be by far the most the team has scored on Georgia all season. And to be honest, you need the 30 spot, and all the 30 needs to really be the receivers or the game that you're targeting with the players. So I get it where from a leverage perspective, sure. But the only thing here is, Tony, is Alabama could score 30, could score 40, and still not be on the winning lineup because there's other bigger games in bigger spots.
I'm very confident if they get in the 30s or 40s that I just don't – all their role guys suck. Like, I feel like I'm getting all the points unless obviously Robinson just vultures it all. But if they get 30 or 40, I don't know. I feel very good about it. Obviously, it could go wrong.
Do you have an opinion on Jahill Billingsley for Alabama? He's at 3.3K, and I mean, he's got the talent, but I mean, he's kind of been in the doghouse most of the year.
I'm just not going to play any of the scrub Bama guys. I get it. I mean, if you were, but I'm not going to play any of this. I'm just literally going to play the 2 studs and the stud quarterback, and it just I'm gonna hope talent wins out.
You're gonna make me have a Bama stack, Tony. And
I feel very, very good about it, and I know people will make fun of it, and I'm okay with it. And it could go wrong. I mean, we're going against Georgia, who's been the best team all year. So fantasy's all about having a take. I really like it even more in this final because if I'm right and somehow one of these 2 big games busts, like you want to get to the top in the final more so than a normal tournament. Even you want the top couple spots. So if I'm right, I'm right. If I'm wrong, so what? Like you finish towards the bottom, so what? The pay gaps just don't move all that much.
Well, that's a good point too, right? It wouldn't be crazy to think, and you hate to put this into the air, but it wouldn't be crazy to think, 1 or 2 of these studs happens to get hurt or happens to anything could happen in any of these games that
it happens every week.
Yeah, that would shine a bigger spotlight on a stack like this game. But yeah, you forced me to have now a lineup with
hopefully it goes decent then for us.
And I fucking can't stand that I have this.
I haven't played Bama all year either is the funny thing. This is like the first time I've played them all year, I think.
I can't.
I honestly think Georgia's overrated. I know people are going to laugh at that take, but I really believe it. I've watched them, and they just haven't been tested, which – to Dunkel's counterpoint is true too. Bama's played the same teams for the most part and struggled with them. So I get it. I could totally be wrong. It's just my take. That's what makes people like watching the stuff I do, because I have weird takes sometimes.
No, I mean, look, a weird take is probably going to be what you need to win today. So it's not crazy at all. Can move on to the next game. And we have a few stinkers coming up before it mashed in between the best game on the slate. So Cincy, Houston, I'm not going to talk much on this outside of the fact that, to me, Cincy's a lot like Georgia in the sense that they just really tighten up in these big games. And we've seen the best version of them the last few weeks. I don't necessarily know how Houston's going to move the football here. Houston, behind Clayton Tune, loves to throw the football to their star wide receiver, Nathaniel Dell, I think, or Nathan, either way. And Cincy's got like a first round cornerback that's going to be defending him all day. And I think I forgot the corner's name for Cincy, but the dude has not given up a receiving touchdown in his entire Cincinnati career. And quarterbacks targeting him this year, I think, have a quarterback rating of 20. He's going to be shadowing Cincy's best receiver all game. I mean, Houston's best receiver all game. And Houston really moves the ball that way. They're below average rushing team. And I'm not a Dana Holgerson guy by any means. The other angle to this is, of course, the Cincy coach is nearly on his way out, which, I'm sure he wants to take this team to a bowl game, to a BCS game regardless. A lot at stake here. I do think the line is correct. I do think the total is correct. I do slightly lean under on the total just because I don't think Houston's going to get there themselves. And I think Cincy's going to struggle. This is going to be one of the best defense they've played all year as well. I mean, excluding Notre Dame, who they also struggled severely with moving the football. So overall, let me see who I have as my players in this game. So I don't mind Ford, the running back for Cincy, at 7,100. Tucker and Pierce, wide receivers for Cincy. I think you can have a Desmond Ritter stack where you play the two receivers, or you could play Ritter naked. I'm not a big fan of Ritter this week. I know I mentioned I liked him a few weeks back when we were on this show and the spot made sense. I think it was against SMU maybe. But I don't like them here. And on the Houston side, the only guy I'd actually play, believe it or not, is Singleton, wide receiver, 4,300. Gets decent amount of volume. And I think, Houston's going to have to pass. And again, it's not going to be Houston's stud receiver that does the work today, because he's going to be shadowed by, one of the best corners in D1. So I think Singleton's a good option at 4,300. Outside of that, on the Houston side, nobody. And I already mentioned who I like on Cincy. So, Tony, what do you like in this game?
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. I don't really like it. I've been down on Cincy all year. I live right in this area, obviously. 10 minutes from the school. People have talked them up all year. I think they're very overrated too, which I don't think people think they're like incredible. So I'm not making a hot take or anything. I just don't like them. The prices are high. I actually think Houston could hang around in this game and give them a game. So I would take the points bets wise. I think the only guy DFS wise I got, what's that?
I was saying.
Oh, I thought I heard something. It might have been from outside the office. The only guy I got in this game at all is this Tayzon Henry, 4,100 running back. Again, running back sucks. So I'm trying to find some value. 4,100 playing from behind, maybe catches some passes. Not going to have a ton, but I'll have a little bit of him. But I'm with you. I'll take Houston in this game. Not much DFS wise.
Okay, Snyder, any thoughts in this game?
I don't have much in this game at all. I mean, if I was going to play someone from Cincinnati, it'd probably be Trey Tucker at 4.4K. I mean, he did have 21 points against SMU a couple games ago and 17 against South Florida. If I landed on him, I mean, that's fine for there. I did see or hear something, listening to the radio this week. They talked about Cincinnati has those two stud corners, and they have been playing them some in the slot the last couple of games to prepare for if Nathaniel Dell has been playing some slot this year. So if he goes into the slot, they feel comfortable with putting those stud cornerbacks in him in the slot if he gets in there. But I don't think Cincinnati's that good either. I'm with Tony on that take. I would back Houston here plus the double-digit points.
Okay, cool. So we'll move on. I'll skip the Pitt Wake game as that's the biggest game. We'll talk on that last. Michigan, Iowa. I will say this, my other best bet for today, Michigan under their team total is 27.5 at FanDuel. It's worth noting Iowa has not given up 28 points in a game since 2018. And Michigan's offense is good, but it's also a slug, and Iowa's a slug. And the only way Iowa's winning this game is a low-scoring, close game. Iowa has no offense. So actually, I think the worst offense, or one of the worst offenses outside of Northwestern in the Big Ten. So it's I don't know where you're going to find. I was going to have to find unique ways to score today or move the ball. And I think because of that, inevitably they will slow down this game even more so than they normally would. And Michigan's not a team that's going to beat you over the top. I mean, they beat Ohio State. I mean, the quarterback for Michigan last week, what did he throw for? 150 yards? Not even.
Yeah, Haskins had like 4 or 5 touchdowns, I think.
Yeah, so McNamara threw for 150. I know Haskins had the big day rushing, but it just goes to show you, like, this team is very content to just run the football to win. And I was going to load up that box today, forcing 3rd and longs. And overall, this game likely plays very slow. Look, it's a low total. It could go over accidentally at 44-ish. But Michigan's team total, I was not going to put pressure on them to force them to score like Ohio State did. And again, for me, this Iowa defense, they're coming in. They know this game cannot get out of hand for them if they want to win or they think they can win. So I think Iowa's not going to put enough pressure on Michigan to force them to score. And look, Michigan, this has got to be just a win and go home type spot. I can't imagine this is a throw everything you have, the kitchen sink and all, to blow out Iowa. They win. They're in the BCS. There's no style points are necessary here for Michigan. I like their team total under 27.5. That's minus 16 FanDuel. And that's my other best bet from the show. As far as DFS goes, I guess Corum, the running back for Michigan. And on Iowa, you can flirt with Laporta at 3,600. He is their lone guy that does work in the passing game at tight end. And Goodson at 6,000. If you are somebody that thinks you're going to bet Iowa today for whatever goddamn reason that is, Goodson's going to be the reason they score. He's the most talented player on offense. And if you believe Iowa's going to get in the box today, it's likely going to be Goodson. So I think that's a sneaky spot for her. And no one's going to be on Goodson today. So I think it's a sneaky spot, but all in all, I'm going to stay away from DFS wise this game. But again, best bet, Michigan team total under 27.5. What do you think, Cody?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with everything you said. I mean, I think Corum is one of the interesting discussions of the whole slate because I think he's going to end up pretty popular, and I'm so torn at what I think they do with them just because they've been so good on the ground with Haskins just going off. Haskins is one of the most interesting talks of the whole slate too because it's nearly impossible to play the guy at 8,700 outside of just leverage. I mean, he's so expensive with Corum back in there against Iowa. We just don't have South. So no one's going to play him. And he does have 50-point upside if he gets it going. So he's another kind of different direction. If I wasn't doing the Bama idea, I don't hate like playing Haskins. I'm not going to. He's not going to be in my player pool. But he's an example of someone on this slate that could win you a tournament just by playing him. I mean, he's very expensive. He's a very bad point per dollar play. Corum could steal some of the work. It could be low scoring. Lots of negatives against him. But he does have 50-point upside. And if some of these other spots lose, I mean, it could be the one. Not going to be for me. I probably won't play much from this game at all. Maybe you could play Goodson too, just because of sheer volume and running back being bad. But I agree with Dunkel, and I can't see Iowa really hanging around in this game all that much. Michigan beat Ohio State. I would feel terrible for Harbaugh if he comes back and can't beat Iowa after they finally beat Ohio State. I mean, you can't come back and lose the next week. You just can't. So I'm with Dunkel here. I think not much DFS, maybe a little Michigan betting wise. I don't know.
All right. Snyder, thoughts, if any, on this game?
I don't really have any thoughts on this game. I mean, I can't see really playing anybody. This total is low 40s. I mean, you could play.
1 sec real quick. So Rocky Lombardi is dressed and warming up.
You'll have to see it.
There we go. Yeah, I don't have anything in this game. I mean, Goodson's going to see 20 to 25 carries. Has been seeing a little bit of work in the pass game, but I'm not going to play anything from this game.
Okay, cool. We'll move on to the last but not least. Certainly not least, Pitt Wake. No play from me in this game. Obviously, massive total. This will be a popular game, but everybody's super high priced here, right? So does make it interesting. Look, on the Pitt side, I think you're going to need exposure to Pickett. Of course, Addison is interesting because he's 9,300. I think more people are going to go towards the quarterback versus the wide receiver. He has some massive games this year, though. Jared Wayne, 4,400 is almost lock and load for Pitt in really any format on DraftKings, cash or GPP. On the Wake side, Hartman, 95. A.T. Perry, 77. Roberson at 65 will be massively popular. He's underpriced. I'm not sure how they fucked that price up. And Stewart at 3,600. I think you can really go crazy on the Wake passing game here if you go Hartman with all three of them and then just do a run back with maybe Jared Wayne. And overall, betting wise, I have nothing here that I like. Snyder, what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a tough game to fully stack up. I mean, if I was going to pick a quarterback here, I'm going to go Hartman for the 200 savings. Hartman's shown a bigger upside more consistently than Pickett has as of late. I think he's going to get in that 35 point range pretty easily in this game. Jordan Addison's priced up over 9K. He's just been an absolute monster this year. I mean, no reason to go away from him. From the Wake side, you get Jacory Robinson at a pretty good discount. I mean, I think he's going to be one of the most popular guys on this slate, but rightfully so. Just I don't have a prop for him, but he's going to see probably double-digit targets in this game. Just a complete smash spot for this whole offense. We've got the Pittsburgh defense has given up 279 yards on average through the air this year. So I think this Wake passing attack is just going to light them up. I mean, once both of these offenses get past the 50, I think it's basically a given that they're going to score a touchdown, as both of these offenses have been so good at closing once they get in scoring position this year. So it's going to be Hartman with those couple pass catchers. I could see going to Donald Stewart for a cheap Wake Forest guy, or that Taylor Morin. I mean, they both shown a little bit of upside. I think they have good price tags in this game. If you want to get the value side of that, Jared Wayne's probably my favorite guy to bring it back with on the Pittsburgh side. He's got a low price tag of 4.4K. I think he will be pretty popular though. He's been all right, and he's had a couple of games as of late. Lucas Krill is another guy at 3.9K that I think people are going to go to. The running back situation is a little muddled up at the time here. They got Hammond. They got I'm not sure if a banking. I don't even know how to say that guy's name. Israel Adabankia. I don't know if he's going to play yet or not. I thought he had a questionable tag near his name. Yeah, I think this is going to be one of the most popular games. So just like that Kent game, I mean, people are going to look to kind of mesh these two games together and kind of stack them together. But I think Kenny Pickett's going to come in quite lower owned than Hartman if you want to get leverage on that, I think.
What do you think, Tony?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's interesting the slate is very interesting. I think a lot of people don't like it. I kind of like it. You got two key games. Tough to, like Snyder said. I mean, if you go in here, let's just do it real quick just for fun. If you play Pickett, you play Hartman, you play Wayne just because he's a cheaper dude, and you play. I really like this. God, what's his name from Wake? Donald Stewart at 3,600. Let's just say we play him. We play. I mean, Roberson, if you stack this game, Roberson is basically a lock for me at 60. Even if you don't play this game, Roberson is a near lock for me at 6,500. He should be like 85. Roberson should be the highest owned guy in this final. Like, he is the most mispriced guy on the entire slate. So I want him. So, I mean, all of a sudden you got Stewart and Roberson, Wayne. Just say I wanted to play Addison and go full stack. It leaves me 3,500 only for two running backs. This is where tournaments are interesting to me, because I don't think it's that bad to just punt a spot in a tournament. If this game just goes to – this used to happen with LSU a lot when they were the dominant team. You would win a tournament by stacking it like this, because just no one does it. So say, I wish I had one other 100, because like you could play my dude from the Peoples or something. Like, who's a 4K running back? Is there any Peoples is 4K.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So this team's a perfect example. Like, you stack the game with literally everyone I would want. You got the top two, maybe not the top two, but two good weapons both ways, the top receiver, the quarterbacks. Literally no one's going to have this, and all you got to do is punt one spot. And 3K running back, let me just see. Like, is there anybody at 3? Like, is there anybody with a remotely decent running back projection at 3K? Let me see. Like, I might play this team in something today. So you got like this Kent dude. He's projected for like 6, Brian Bradford, and it gives you a slight bit of leverage maybe if someone gets hurt or something. I don't know. This Bradford dude, 3K, he's got a 6 projection. If that dude gets you like 6, I mean, look at this team. I don't know. No one's going to do that is the point. This is how I think you win tournaments. If this game just totally nukes, no one is going to have this full stack with you. Like, they just won't do it. They just refuse. And it's an 8-game slate. Some of these games are going to bust. I don't hate it, but just to get back to the overall point of the game, great game. I mean, everyone in this game is a good play. It's just a matter of how you construct it. It's hard to put it all together with what you need to do. If I had to pick a side, though, it would for sure be the Wake side just because of pricing. You can play Roberson at 6,500. Yeah, Addison is better than him, but he's also $3K more. $3K goes a long way on this slate. So Hartman and Roberson is going to be popular. Addison and Pickett might end up low owned actually today just because of the pricing. Like, if I play Pickett, I have to play Addison, and all of a sudden you're at 19K for two dudes. I mean, it's tough, like Snyder said, to put this stuff together. I can almost guarantee you're going to see me put a team something similar to this. Not in the final, but in the 555 today.
Look at this Keegan Williams guy from San Diego State. He's 3K stone min, and he's been seeing work lately. Six attempts, 2 attempts, 4 attempts, 1. If he can get one into the end zone somehow, he's seen a couple passing down work.
That's what I mean. Like, yeah, I mean, you might get 0. My point is, though, there's going to be people bust today. It's an 8-game slate. People are going to get injured. People are going to bust. If you lose a 3K guy to a 0, you know what? That's not going to be – I always use this example. It's not going to be why you lose. I promise you. If that dude gets you 0, that is not going to be why you lose money today. It just won't. If the game goes off, you're going to make money. If it doesn't, exactly. I mean, I like it. I feel good about it, actually. I'm looking at it right now. I might talk myself into just playing that in the final. I like it so much.
Yeah, definitely not a bad look. And that basically wraps it up. As mentioned, we talked on DFS for every game. I gave you my 2 best bets, which was San Diego State over their team total, 27.5. Michigan under their team total. San Diego State over theirs, Michigan under theirs, both 27.5. As mentioned in the chat as well. A lot of good content DFS-wise. Gone through this video. Went through a lot of plays. If you're playing or if you're even betting, we talked to betting angles for each game as well. So as always, folks, be sure to gamble responsibly. Thanks again for watching. And as always, run pure. See you next time.